Thanks for checking out the Brad and John Show podcast. This segment of the show is brought to you by John Combest's book, Stalking, Harassment, Internet Trolling, A Guide to Recovering and Rebuilding After Online Attacks. It's a great reference if you've ever been the unfortunate target of a social media attack. It's available on Amazon. Just search John Combest. That's C-O-M-B-E-S-T, John Combest, and the book will show up in your search results. Now it's time for another segment of the Brad and John Show. Can you handle it?
I'm Egbert, the owner of this station. Check out my website at egbert.com. That's E-G-G-B-U-R-T, egbert.com. Now it's back to Brad and John. Check out their website at bjshow.co. The BJ Show? Come on, guys. Anyway, here's B and J.
And by the way, I have to put in a plug for the Hawthorne Inn. We just heard that commercial. If you want a super deal on Hawthorne Inn, less than half price, go to snarfitup.com, S-N-A-R-F, snarfitup.com. John Combest, and he is right here in the studio with me. Actually, he's not. He's at an undisclosed location.
I'm on a sloped roof, and you'll never find me, Brad. Now, hundreds of people in the crowd will point to me and yell and identify me, but, officials won't see me, Brad. It's not an inside job. Go ahead.
Okay,
I interrupted you.
John, that's not where I was heading, but you brought that up, which is sort of interesting. Okay, can I tell you something which is, to me, is fascinating, which goes back to when I was a police dispatcher, which was many, 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 many moons ago, okay? And remember, one of the issues that came up with 9/11 is that the different departments were not able to talk to each other. The fire guys.
There was no ERIC elections communication system either. Go ahead, Brad.
There was no interoperability of the radio system between departments. The fire guys were on one channel and their radios would not go to the police, so therefore the police could not talk directly to the fire guys and stuff like that. And they had this whole thing. Matter of fact, there's a whole deal that's happened. I don't know if you know it. There's a thing. There's like a system that St. Charles, St. Louis, and Jefferson County are all involved in, this radio system where they can talk to each other, stuff like that. You would think this would have been put to bed, but apparently it's now come out that one of the problems was that the local police saw this guy up on the roof, and if you heard the story that two officers, when the people were yelling, he's on the roof, one officer went over and literally, knelt down, put the other officer on his shoulders so the other officer could try to get up on the roof, and as the other officer was trying to get onto the roof, the guy pointed the gun at him, and the officer fell and was actually injured, okay? But once again, it comes out yesterday that they're not on the same channel. They don't have, and I can tell you why this is.
Is this as interesting as your GPS story from yesterday? Why aren't they on the same channel?
Are you making fun of me?
No, I'm not. I'm just asking.
It's departmental protection. It's the fact that I can almost guarantee you that the Secret Service people are not going to allow anybody to use their radio system because they're the Secret Service. They don't let anybody use their radio system. They can't be on their channel. And once again, it's this like, well, it's this territorial thing. We've got our frequencies. You've got your frequencies. We're not going to let you be on our frequencies because we don't trust you. We're highly trained Secret Service, and you're just local schlub police officers. I'm telling you. Been there, done that. That's exactly the problem. And even to the point where the chief of police for that city is vehemently denying the fact that that it was his guys that screwed up on this. He says, look, we had our job. Every last one of our officers was on traffic duty. We had no officers assigned to the actual thing. And there's another video that came up. This stuff keeps coming out, where after the shots were fired, or maybe before the shots were fired, I can't remember which one, there were a bunch of police officers who were trying to get over to this building where the sniper was, and they couldn't get there because the gates were locked and nobody had the key. So have you seen this video?
No, I haven't seen this.
At one point in time, a Pennsylvania state trooper gets in his squad car and tries to smash this gate down to the point where he's on one side of the gate in a squad car. The officers are trying to get through this gate to go over to this building where the sniper was, and the officer is bashing in the gate with his squad car and doesn't completely get it, crunched in to the point where he gets it enough to the point where they can crawl under the gate. And once again, it's like, okay, who was in charge? There should have been somebody, I'm not Joe law enforcement expert, but you would think if there's like an access, gate, there would have been someone stationed there who had the key, or at least would say, no, you can't go through this gate is locked. And it's just like one thing after another. Now, I'm going to ask you something, John. I'm going back to your old days at Monsanto, okay?
Yep.
You probably had a corporate security guy, correct?
Oh, we had an entire global team.
Okay. If something bad would have happened, what would have happened to that guy who's in charge of the global security team?
Oh, he'd be gone.
Right. Like probably within 24 hours, right?
Yeah, for sure.
He'd be fired. Okay. Once again, does anybody in the government ever does anybody ever fall on the sword? Does anybody in government ever say, it was my fault? I mean, and to the point where now more and more and more it looks like, okay, we thought these Secret Service guys were, really creme de la creme, and they're pretty damn good, but things have gotten a little bit lax with the Secret Service. Remember, and it's not even with the current administration. Remember, what was that, under Bush, or what was the one where the guys were having sex romps, like, you know what I'm talking about? They had prostitutes in their rooms and things like that. Who was that?
Oh, I don't remember that story. No.
Oh yeah. I'll try to look that up. Okay.
With the Butler County thing though, and the lack of coordination between, you're talking about the lack of coordination between municipalities and agencies, right?
Right, and the Secret Service says right up front when they come into a town, and like I said, I heard Tim Fitch talk about this on 97.1 the other day, that he was on a lot of these details, and the Secret Service comes into town and they coordinate with local agencies. And like, for example, I mean, I went to the couple of the presidential debates, vice presidential debates. Not only did you see, and obviously that's in University City, and that's where the campus for Washington University is. Not only do you see U City Police, you saw St. Louis County Police, you saw St. Louis City Police, and like just the situation they had there where they had the riots there with was that like 2 months ago now? We had the situation where when they came in and they essentially shut down the occupation. There were police officers, from 5 or 6 different munis, weren't there? Wasn't that the story?
Yeah, I think so. And so what I was getting at was with the lack of the lack of coordination there, and when you have different municipalities that don't seem to be talking to each other, Butler County was influenced by your work with Westplex, Brad. And so they've actually created now in the last few days, in the last 6 days, they've created a group called Butplex for Butler County. And it's inspired by Westplex. It's actually a radio guy decided to put it together because he was tired of the municipalities not coordinating. He's like, why do we have to have our own fiefdoms? Why is Butler County different than Butler? That's different than the Allegheny, Community Protection Division. And he was running radio stations, and he thought maybe he should focus on actually running the radio stations. But he's like, no, let's pause that and let's start a Butplex Chamber of Commerce. And you know what? It turned out very well. And I asked him why he was going to turn around. He said, well, I hope it does. I said, what's your plan? He said, well, I just hope it does. So anyway, Butplex was influenced by the Westplex, Brad. John, so your influence is spreading east.
John, let me tell you something. There are some people that sit around and complain about things, and there are other people that get things done.
That's true.
You know what I'm saying? And
I'm with you.
I would rather be part of the latter than part of the former, if you know what I'm saying.
I agree. I think it's fantastic, Brad.
But he's making fun of me. Okay, John, I'm going to play something which I didn't watch live last night, but I pulled the audio this morning, and you are going to love this. Okay, you ready?
Oh, I am. I watched it. It was fantastic.
But what happened last week when they took a shot at my hero and they tried to kill the next president of the United States? Enough was enough. And I said, let Trumpomania run wild, brother. Let Trumpomania rule again. Let Trumpomania make America great again.
I'm sorry, but Is that great stuff or what?
It was fantastic. I heard in the afternoon that Terry Bollea, BKA Hulk Hogan, would be there. And I was like, okay, this is going to be pretty good. And I was really rooting for him because, obviously I grew up a Hulkamaniac. And it exceeded my expectations, Brad. It was just phenomenal.
And if you haven't seen the video, he's wearing is like a sport jacket or some kind of a jacket.
I think so.
He slowly takes off. And he's got a shirt on that's Hulkamania or something like that. And
it says Trump. Yeah.
And as he's saying that, he rips off the shirt, and the shirt underneath is a Trump Vance shirt. I'm going like, this just doesn't get any better. Now here's what's interesting about this. Who are we going to have are we going to have like all the Hollywood stars for the Democrats, the Democratic convention? They're going to get up and are the women going to show up with their low cut dresses? We're going to have
I don't think they can do that. First of all, you'd have to find a Democratic woman that was attractive enough. and there's a few, but I mean, when I think of those women, I think of like short hairs and Melissa McCarthy types. I don't think of like Sydney Sweeney, bouncing those things out there. Hey, real quick, Brad, before we forget this, I don't mean to get off the convention topic, but I do want to pick up a thread. I know that we had talked last time about WPSD in Paducah, Kentucky, and I found the political files of political folks from Missouri who were advertising on that station. Can I go through those real quick?
So,
because I'm guessing you don't have it up on your screen.
No. Okay, first off, what John doesn't understand, and I have to apologize to John on this, okay? He's never been in the studio before. I've never been in his studio. He's never been in mine, which is sort of weird, but that's a whole nother deal. Okay. When John is listening to me, he's not listening to me on the main feed. He's listening to me on what we call like a sub feed or a mix minus or something like that. Okay. And when I am talking into the microphone that goes on the air, it's on a headset microphone, just like John is using. So no matter where my head's at, he hears me. Okay, but on the other side of the studio is where my computer sits that I can use when I'm on the air. And he couldn't necessarily hear me yesterday, and I had problems with the computer. So that was one of the crappiest segments we've done in a long time, and it was 100% my fault, and I apologize. Okay, so you've pulled up, and this comes from a friend of mine who lives down in Southern Illinois, keeps telling me, I keep watching the Paducah station, and all I see is ads for Missouri politics. So I went on it, and now, so go ahead. You've done your research. You've gone to the public access file. And by the way,
go ahead, Brad.
Anybody can do this. You go the easiest way to find it's one of these crazy long URLs, but the easiest way to find it is just go into a search, into Google search, whatever, and just search FCC public inspection files. You'll get this thing that comes up. It'll tell you what, there's a box to put in the call letters of the station. It gets a little bit complicated because once you put the call letters in, it'll show you the call letters. Then you have to click on what they call the site ID, which is it's a number that each of the radio stations gets.
And to short circuit that, Brad, real quick, I can go to YouTube, and when you go to this segment, I'll send you to the Missouri page. And then on the Missouri page, you'll be able to choose between governor, lieutenant governor, secretary of state, and state senate.
Okay, so
what you're talking about, Brad, is publicfiles.fcc.gov.
Okay, so this is the Paducah, Kentucky station that's running all these Missouri ads. Okay, so give me who's on there.
Okay, so the governor candidates who are running ads are only, at this point, Mike Hamra is the only candidate. Now, I pulled the dates of advertisement from June 1st, 2024 to today, July 19th, 2024. So during that time period, the only governor candidate running television on that station, WPSD in Paducah, was Mike Hamra for governor, the Democrat. The lieutenant governor candidate running in Paducah was David Wassinger, and he is up on the air now in Paducah, Kentucky. The secretary of state candidate is Dean Plocker. Plocker for Missouri is running advertisements. And also Jamie Berger running for state senate. He's running against a woman named Chris Dinkins. We've talked about both of these folks on the show before. Jamie Berger is running his state senate ads there. So those are the candidates running. There's no candidates as of now running ads for state treasurer or attorney general.
Now, what's interesting about this is, especially if you don't live in the state of Missouri, if you live in Illinois, if you live in Kentucky, they don't have primaries right now because of the fact that I think the Illinois primary wasn't it back in March or something like that?
Yeah, I think they have it in March.
So the interesting thing is, if you're in Southern Illinois, if you're in, Carbondale or places like that, or Metropolis, or if you're in, Paducah, Kentucky, if you actually live in Paducah, Kentucky, you're being barraged by these political campaigns, which has nothing to do with you. Now, to a certain extent, we have this sometimes in the St. Louis area where you'll see the ads for all the Illinois people. You go like, who cares? Who are these people? Never heard of these people before, because they're all on the east side of the river. And by the way, can I make a comment right now, John?
Yeah, please do.
I had to make a quick trip to Springfield, Illinois yesterday afternoon for some business. And I went through North County, okay? And I got off. I've not gotten off at West Florissant since the 270 has been redone up there, okay? What a mess. They have totally screwed up that whole...
Really?
Oh,
I haven't been up there in a while. Tell us about it, Brad.
Well, it's just a mess. First off, you had to get off at West Florissant. You have to get off like almost back at Elizabeth. And then what they've done is the road, which was, I guess that would be Pershall, which is on the south side of 270, right there at the which when you go into St. Louis Community College, it's now one way going eastbound. So in other words, if you're like, in other words, one of these things where if you're on West Florissant to get into the community college, you got to get on the interstate, go west on 270, turn around at Washington Elizabeth, then come back on the South Service Road. And they've got this goofy, bizarre... Well, first off, then here's the bizarre part of it is, when you get back onto 270 from West Florissant, instead of just going north on West Florissant and making a right to get onto the eastbound lanes of 270, no, you can't do that anymore. You've got to go on the south outer road, which is now one way going eastbound. You've got to go through a New Halls Ferry, then you got to go through Old Halls Ferry, and then you can get on 270 going eastbound. So you got to go like 2 miles before you can get back on the interstate from West Florissant. And then the bizarre thing is they have this weird, strange bus ramp that's between West Florissant and New Halls Ferry. And it's bizarre because you drive along, if you haven't done it for a while, you're going like, okay, is this the ramp to get on the eastbound 270? And you see all these crazy signs, and when you get close, they say like, bus use only. And it's some weird turnaround where the buses, because there's a bus station up there, there's a Metrolink, bus station up there, and apparently the buses can make a U-turn up there. I'm going like, I don't even know what this is. And I'm going like, God, they have screwed things up so much. And here's the other bizarre thing, okay? It's been done for, 3, 4, 5 months. They still don't have the lane markings on 270. Some of them are there. Some of them aren't. You're driving along, and like some of the lanes, there's no lane markings. You're going like, okay, we spent hundreds of millions of dollars on this rehab project. Everything's done. Can't they send the striping machine down and put the lane markings down? No, they're not there. And I'm going like, God, this is so messed up.
I feel like we should enlist the help of perhaps Johnny Londoff, or perhaps the guy that owns Damon's Steakhouse over there.
Well, they screwed his
help out.
They screwed his place up too, because the North Service Road is westbound only. See, that's the crazy thing. See, this is MoDOT's thing. MoDOT, they tried to do this out in O'Fallon. And matter of fact, to a certain extent, they've already done it in O'Fallon. But they tried to do this in St. Peter's, and that stretch, the North Outer Road, I guess that would be West Clay, the stretch of the road between Zumble all the way out to Mid Rivers. MoDOT has tried for a long time to essentially, we're going to make it one way westbound only. Well, once again, if you're a car dealer or anybody else has a business location, it gets to be a PETA because of the fact that you got to go all the way down, turn around, come back, loop back around to get on, so in other words, you're going westbound. Like, for example, if you were going to like the Bowie Funeral Home there, if they had it one way westbound, you'd have to go, and if you missed that, or if you're going
you're
east,
SOL,
right.
You shoot out of luck.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, you know what they should do, Brad? They should create a panel or a committee, and they should name Brad Hildebrand to it. And it will, you know what will come of that? More than just a report that sits in a binder in some bureaucrat's desk collecting dust.
John,
so this is my campaign to get Brad Hildebrand on a MoDOT committee. That's never happened before, has it?
I was going to say, John once again is making fun of me because years ago I was drafted to be on a committee for MoDOT, and it was like. Let me think now. Like if it was a meeting, like let's say I got a notification that the meeting was today at 10 o'clock, and I think, and that morning I think to myself, let me think now, what would I rather do?
Would you rather be drafted into a war or a MoDOT committee, Brad. I would probably pick a war.
I was going to say, would I rather stick bamboo shoots underneath my fingernails or go to that
They'd rather have you looking for Charlie in the jungle.
Right, or go to that MoDOT meeting at 10 o'clock. I'll take the bamboo shoots. Okay, we have to take a break.
Thanks for checking out the Brad and John Show podcast. This segment of the show is brought to you by John Combest's book, Stalking, Harassment, Internet Trolling, A Guide to Recovering and Rebuilding After Online Attacks. It's a great reference if you've ever been the unfortunate target of a social media attack. It's available on Amazon. Just search John Combest. That's Combest, John Combest, and the book will show up in your search results. Now it's time for another segment of the Brad and John Show. Can you handle it?